It's a bull. Good morning, or I should say good afternoon, and Happy New Year's. What's up? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. Figured I'd get a report out today. Even though I'm closed, I couldn't help myself. Wanted to do one more before the year's end here. Look at a lovely day here in Lauderdale by the Sea. What's the temperature? Let's take a look here. And it looks like it's 82 degrees, a little bit too hot for my liking for this time of year, but no less, we'll get our cold weather. And look at all the people out there having an enjoyable pre-New Year's Eve day. New Year's Eve day, sorry about that. Well, markets were open today, and yesterday I wasn't quite sure. Misread the opening hours of COMEX, and let's take a look. I mean, it's kind of interesting. We did not see the monkey hammering that some of us were expecting. Even myself was expecting some monkey hammering, but did not happen, did not come to fruition. But let's see what happens on Monday. We'll see when the markets open with the new year on the 3rd. Last price, I'm going to do a quick refresh here. I think I just did a refresh. Hang on. Yes, I did. We're currently sitting at 1825.99. It's about noontime. What time is it actually? It's December 31st, 12:04 p.m. Last 12:04 p.m. we'll see for 2021. Good riddance this year anyway. Gonna have a short video. I got a whole bunch of it's my year-end video in memes. So it might be a little bit fun here. Might love it or hate it. You know me with my politics, economics, and talking about all this kind of stuff. Not much to talk about on gold and silver today. Yesterday's video was pretty cool. We did discuss that big short position that Bank of America is allegedly holding. And this comes from Ted Butler. This is why I like Butler research so much. Ted Butler, I think, was one of the first guys out there that said that Bank of America actually owned that short position of 300,000. I keep saying 300 million ounces. My apology, 300,000, not kidding. And by the way, thanks for catching me that yesterday on that. I said 300,000 a few times when I meant 300 million. So Bank of America probably owns this big derivative short position of 300 million ounces. And Ted Butler is one of the guys that discussed that last year. If you do Bank of America short position in silver, you'll see that it pops up on your web page as 300 million ounces typically. But Ted Butler just, I think in the last week or two, has looked at the reports and has come to the conclusion that Bank of America's short position is likely, and again, this is not anything that we know for sure, but is likely closer to 800 million ounces short. So this is, and Mr. Butler also mentioned the fact that these derivatives, these leasing, and they've leased this silver as well, has never ended well for any of the leasees. So why Bank of America has done this, and is it JP, and did JP Morgan loan them the silver? That's the other thing. Is that who they lease the silver from? How does this all work out? Not quite sure. We'll see what happens. And again, let's see if this turns out to be absolutely correct. If it is, it's kind of a scary situation. Assuming that assuming that prices on silver go up dramatically, this does not bode well for Bank of America. Take a look at yesterday's video and let me know what you think. And there's going to be more reading. Just do a little search in your search engine, and you'll read more about it. Type in Ted Butler, Bank of America, and silver short position. Maybe some stuff will come up. He is a subscription-only service, but he does do a lot of public stuff too as well. Let's take a look at the overnight range. 1815.27 to 1827.94. I don't have the 24-hour charts up today, but I'm going to assume, make an ass out of you and me that we, that's what assume means, but I'm going to assume that the, as been happening for quite some time, this uptick right here by $11 happened in the COMEX markets today, or this morning around 8 o'clock or so, not quite sure. And silver is currently sitting at 23.27, up about 21 cents. It looks like it's going to close above, and with gold, going to close above that 1800 mark for the end of the year, as is silver going to close above that $23 mark at the end of the year. So the monkey hammering that we expected did not occur. Perhaps it's because Crooked COMEX just figured it was too much and told these boys to slow down a little bit. I don't know. The pressure's been on Crooked COMEX and the CME group for quite some time to end this manipulative behavior by the short positions, but no less, they still out there, they're still there. So let's see what happens. Platinum and palladium both down. Platinum, which for me for a while was a tell on where the gold and silver market is down a tiny bit, but again, 80 cents, big deal. That's just a blip on the market. If it was down 10, 20, $30, I would kind of be concerned about the gold price or silver prices, maybe not today, but on the upcoming Monday. Well, hey, let's see what happens on Monday. That's the new year starts on Monday for gold and silver markets. So I suspect, I don't know. If it dips, buy the frickin' dip. If it doesn't dip, let's see where it goes from here. Let's take a look at the Zero Hedge. Again, a great source of a lot of information that I've gotten over the years that is not your typical standard corporate news. Of course, I read the American Institute or Economic Institute and a couple other things. In fact, I'll let you here, I'll just open up a bookmark bar here so you can see. There's my favorites in case any of you were wondering here. I use DuckDuckGo as a search engine. We some sales stuff on here. See, that's my company, Zero Hedge, as you can see. Who else? AIER, which is the American Institute for Economic Research. If you read this, you'll be smarter. Well, here, let me just hang there for a second so you can see it. Seth Rogen's car. If you read this article right here, not this article, if you bookmark this site, American Institute for Economic Research, and you read these articles on a weekly basis, I can pretty much, I'm going to guarantee you, I'm going to guarantee you that you will be smarter than the average bear. You'll be smarter than most all politicians and most media people. So definitely read American Institute for Economic Research. Keep this on your bookmark bar. And again, you'll be a much smarter person for doing this. I can say the same thing with, where is it? GATA.org, definitely. Again, we're not going to go over any articles today on GATA.org. Actually, I think here's what we were talking about yesterday. Ted Butler, Bank of America silver short position is even larger than he thought. Gosh, I got to read this now since it was what we talked about yesterday. And let's just kind of read a little bit more here. Following up today of his commentary, and that was yesterday, and we spoke, that was yesterday's video, earlier this week on the latest gold and silver derivatives report from the U.S. Office of Comptroller of the Currency, silver market analyst Ted, and, in my opinion, genius extraordinaire when it comes to this stuff, Ted Butler suggests that the Bank of America may have sold short as many as 800 million ounces of silver. Such an amount, Butler notes, probably can't be repaid in any practical sense, and if the silver prices rise, the bank would lose billions of dollars. Butler, and I'm going to blow that up a little bit, make it easier for you to read as well. Butler candidly acknowledged the suspicions of the others that no bank would undertake such a fantastic position for its own book, and that the Bank of America's silver short position is actually a U.S. government position. Ooh, interesting. I didn't really read into that yesterday. He writes that proof is lacking for such suspicion, and that's kind of interesting as well. Wow, wouldn't that be interesting if that short position was open for a government entity? This is what GATA.org talks about when the gold market. Ted Butler doesn't talk about this very often, but this is pretty shocking, actually. Maybe proof is lacking that the U.S. government is rigging the gold and silver markets this week, but there is much proof that the government has been rigging them as a matter of policy for more than 50 years. And this is GATA.org talking about. And if the government is not rigging the gold and silver markets this week as well, maybe Butler can explain why the U.S. Commodities Future Commission, which has often properly criticized, this is GATA.org criticizing Mr. Butler for not saying that it's absolutely true. But you know what? That's not fair by GATA.org, because Mr. Butler does work by facts. He reads the contracts, the COT reports, all this stuff. And he knows exactly the math. Math doesn't lie for the most part. However, GATA.org, can you prove, and it's likely true that Bank of America may very well have this hold this position for government entities that want to keep the price of silver down and other commodities. I digress, though. Does the Commission have jurisdiction over the market manipulation by entities? In this excellent article, one of the things I love about GATA.org is they put it out there, and that's for sure. And Ted Butler, two of my favorites. I'm going to tell you, you definitely have to have GATA.org on your bookmark bar if you are a stacker. And Butler research as well. Read all the free articles you can. And I can also say that you can just go out on your search engine and type in Ted Butler silver manipulation. There's a lot of good stuff out there, including from one of the sites called SilverSeek. Well, let's move into ZH again. Boy, I wasn't in ZH before. And just see if there's any headlines here we're going to talk about. I don't think so. I can't wait to get into my little memes here. I got like 1,000 memes that I've posted over the last 2 years here on my videos on a daily basis, and I'm going to kind of just comment on different ones. Wow, that sucks, man. So I feel for our brothers and sisters in Colorado. That's for sure. And you know what? It's just been a nonstop lies. I mean, really lies. And no, I don't care if people are well-intentioned. They say, well, I'm lying for your own good. That's even worse, man. Don't lie to people for their own good. I mean, if that's the best excuse that this person and these people can come up with, lying for our best interest, that's just as bad. Anyway, wow, that's sad. And that's not surprising. Let's see what happens. I don't suspect much will happen at all. And wow. This is what I wanted to get to. This is true. If you think that we're not living in, Superman's bizarro world, we are, man, folks. We really are. I think a lot of us woke up in a whole different universe in 2020 because it's not the universe that I wanted to live in, but no less. This is for real. The IRS wants its cut from looters and thieves. Now, this is for real. Look, IRS, there's an IRS document. Stolen property, IRS put in their regulations. If you steal property, you must report its fair market value and your income this year. You steal it unless you return it to its rightful owner in the same year. So apparently stolen property, if you've stolen property, you should report it. Otherwise, the IRS, you remember, IRS is more powerful than the U.S. government, more powerful than the laws, Constitution, and all this stuff. So these people are like God out there next to the Federal Reserve and central bankers. So if you stole property this year, you scumbags, make sure you report it. But this is for real. This is really, I'm blown away by it. I'm blown away. So they want their cut of stolen merchandise. Doesn't that make them a thief or a complicit as well? That could be a case with that. Let's see. Oh man, that's pretty terrible. 475,000 vehicles are being recalled. That's not going to bode well for Mr. Musk's stock in Tesla. It's interesting that he's talking about this. He's a pretty bright guy. He's got his kind of insights, and I'm sure he's part of the billionaire club and talks to other people of high wealth. And Mr. Elon Musk predicts a recession as soon as spring of 2022, but not later than 2023. Well, the problem, Mr. Musk, is a lot of us people that have been following the economy have made similar predictions. Peter Schiff made similar predictions that he thought the economy was going to take a giant shit in 2016. And the problem with making these short-term predictions is you can never underestimate the power of the Fed, the people, the man behind the curtain that can print the money. Never underestimate these central bankers. They've been keeping this sinking ship afloat for how long? But no less. They've done it. And that's the problem with trying to predict particular times in these kind of things. Never underestimate the stupidity of the officials and politicians in charge, and never underestimate the ability of the people that own the printing press, which are the central bankers. So Mr. Musk is either going to be a hero or a zero in this prediction. However, it's such late times. Again, I've been wondering when this whole greatest bubble of all time was going to implode since 2016 and earlier. A lot of us have. It just seems like the bubble's only gotten bigger and bigger, and the plastic balloon plastic rubber balloon has just been stretched thinner and thinner and thinner. It's like microns thin. When is it going to bust? That's the question. Mr. Musk thinks it's going to be 2022 and 2023. We'll see what happens. And what I don't get? This is kind of sick that why would we want to even be involved with a new Cold War? This whole thing with Ukraine, Russia, and the United States and Europe is just absolutely stupid. No less, only ridiculous, dumb people that don't remember history would want to even remotely start another Cold War. I lived through a Cold War. Worrying about, as a little kid, worrying about getting blown to pieces with a nuclear bomb. Oh, man. You know what? I don't know what they're doing to her. Anyways, I digress. We're here to talk about gold and silver and all this other stuff. Volatility is pretty high with the VIX, all this other stuff. And again, why would you do this? Why would you instigate a Cold War? It just makes no sense to me. These people in charge right here, these kind of people, and this kind of person right here, man, I don't... Anyways, you get my point here. Speaking of Revolution 2022, I don't think so. So let's move along here. I can't wait to get to my memes here, and you're either going to love it or hate it, all right? Butler Research, highly recommend that you get a subscription to Butler Research. I also think that you should be reading ZH, put it on your bookmark bar. Now, mind you, it's all different opinions and narratives, but it's not that single opinion and single narrative, official opinion and narrative that you get from all corporate news and all corporate media. just about, including, well, anyways. You get different opinions here, so I think that you should have that on your bookmark bar. Butler Research, he's got two types of things here. You can either pay for his services, which I recommend, but it is a little pricey for some folks, $30-something a month to subscribe. But if you're not subscribed, he does have what he calls his free archive here, and you can read some of his articles, which are pretty cool as well. Or you can just go up to your bookmark bar and type Ted Butler, which I used to do before I subscribed. Silver Short, we're going to type in Silver Short, the newest news, Bank of America. And again, I encourage you to go out there and with a search and look on his site, because if you're involved with silver, look, there it is right there. It actually show you the link to gati.org. The Wall Street Silver and the Great Silver Squeeze, Ted Butler on Silver and Bank of America. So there's a lot of good articles if you just go out and look for him, type in an author's name, even if he's got a paid subscription service. A lot of times Mr. Butler will say some of the same things he says in his paid subscription service to the public stuff. So definitely go out and look for him. He is the guy that called it. Oh man, it's almost meme time here, right? I kind of, also Wall Street Silver. Make sure that you're, it's a very cool group out here. What I like about the Wall Street Silver group is that the numbers, and all these guys out here are sharing their knowledge about silver and sharing the stuff they learned. They're also sharing the fact that silver is a highly manipulated market. And the nice thing about them sharing that is they're letting people know that the manipulation will only last so long. So lots of education being spread by 175,000 silverbacks out on Wall Street Silver. Happy to see it. And I thank Wall Street Silver for letting me post my videos and opinions up there. I appreciate the monitors. I appreciate the whole deal in general. And as I said, make sure you have gata.org on your bookmark bar. Hey, we're going to get to the new year. By the way, I think this is a perfect person to start out the new year. The best meme. I think this is the best meme to start out the new year with. Boy, did I call it or what. Now, this is not a real quote. Most of you know this is not a real quote by George Orwell. And for some of you folks that are not familiar with George Orwell, he wrote the book 1984. And I'm really not going to explain it to you from here. If you're not familiar with that at all, I do suggest that you go to your search engine, type in George Orwell 1984, and give you an idea of a dystopian future that he described. 30 years too early probably, but dystopian future that he described, which is pretty much nailing it on the head, folks. It really is. Of course, my opinion is the importance of us sharing, like I was talking about the silver apes, sharing knowledge that the silver markets are manipulated by COMEX and by big commercial bankers, sharing the knowledge that Bank of America potentially has, 800 million ounces short. This is stuff that didn't happen back in the day. You had to hear this stuff from sources that, you didn't have the internet like this, folks. This is the power of the internet. This is the power of YouTube. This is the power of, which has its issues as well with censorship, but we'll get to that. So of course, if it can be destroyed by the truth, my opinion, it deserves to be destroyed by the truth. I think a lot of you feel that same way. We're going to move into a couple things. These are all memes that I posted over the last couple years on some of my videos, and they're kind of important, I think. That ties into precious metals. As you know, I always say that economics, politics has directly involved. People like to say, well, I come to listen to your videos because I just want to listen to stuff about gold and silver, or the markets, where they might be heading, why, and all this stuff. And you cannot discuss that without discussing politics and economics. And now, granted, I realize that a lot of things in politics or economics are opinion-based, and that's where I come from. Of course, I have an opinion. I'm biased towards my opinion, but I want you to know that, first off, I've been doing this since 1977, started working for my father part-time. I'm second generation. I've been in the precious metals business, retail and wholesale, for a long time, so I know my stuff about that. It's over the years that I've learned that what really impacts the price of gold, silver, and platinum is the people in charge of the banking system, is the people in charge of Wall Street, and the people in charge of our government, our taxes. So you have to discuss this stuff, you really do. Given that, I am an intelligent man, and I believe you are as well. One of my favorite authors is, I have quite a few, Isaac Asimov. I believe in evidence, is a quote by him. I believe in observation, measurement, and reasoning, confirming by independent observers. I'll believe anything and this is true for me too. Some people called us conspiracy theorists. Back in 20 years ago, if you brought up that gold price was manipulated in comics like Ted Butler did, he was doing it before anyone else was. You were called a conspiracy theory. I had a friend of mine that had he had a degree in economics that called me, not like a bachelor's degree, but he had a serious degree in economics. I forget what it was, but he called me a conspiracist, and he was involved with the market. And a few other people I thought knew gold and silver called me conspiracist years ago. But you know what? The truth is the numbers were there. Observation, if you believe in observation, measurement, and reasoning, and confirmed by independent observers like Ted Butler, it could very well be true, but they didn't want to believe it. That's called cognitive dissonance. Some people suffer cognitive dissonance. So I'll believe anything that's supported by facts, measurements, reasoning, and all that. Seriously, I don't care how conspiratorial it may sound, no matter how wild and ridiculous. If there's evidence for it, the wilder and more ridiculous something is, however, the firmer and more solid the evidence will have to be. So the crazier the conspiracy, the evidence better be there for it as well, even more so. Great meme, and also a great saying or quote by Isaac Asimov. And speaking of evidence and stuff like this, another one of my, again, I posted all these up over the videos. Before you judge someone who implicitly trusts the government, walk a mile in their shoes. Obviously, if you got your eyes open, you can see this is meant to be funny. Not really, but somewhat true. And if you trust the government, you obviously had failed history class, because, folks, history shows us what socialism, Marxism, communism, history shows us what governments that spend too much money. A great parallel to that would be the Roman Empire and what's happening with the United States today. Roman Empire at one time, again, they kicked ass, man. That's a non-scholarly way of saying it, but they kicked ass across continents, all right? They got spread too thin. Their armies got too big. They couldn't pay their people anymore. Back at home, they overspent. They overbuilt. They spent money they didn't have unless they went and robbed it from another country or region. But does it sound similar, folks? Romans used to get paid in silver and gold. Eventually, the silver coins that they didn't give gold out anymore. Eventually, the silver coins they gave out were silver plated over some kind of base metal. Sound familiar, folks? All right, so if you fail to remember history, then you're really screwed if you're a politician and official, because you're going to screw your people like they have and they are. Debasement and all this stuff. Lots of parallels between the Roman Empire and us. Also, at the end of the Roman Empire, their constitution, basically, the Romans allowed their Senate to rule. They allowed a lot of people to rule, and the people's voices were supposedly heard through the Senate. Okay, but at some point, the presidents, the emperors started the centralized power. Instead of the power being decentralized through the Senate and throughout the Rome states, you know what I'm saying? It became more centralized. Sound familiar, folks? So if you trust the government, you obviously failed history class, because they don't remember history, folks. They're following the same bullshit bad path that past empires have gone through. And during times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. How do we know that? Well, a couple of reasons. First, look at Julian Assange. Love the guy or hate the guy, he's a journalist. He did nothing any worse than what the New York Times, Washington Post, or any other publication would have done as journalists, but they didn't. They wouldn't get in trouble for that kind of stuff. Anyone remember the Pentagon Papers? If Julian Assange wasn't even close to what the Pentagon Papers came out, did you see the New York Times do any jail time for that? No, you did not. The reason that Julian Assange is in trouble is because he spoke out against bad people. He took information from whistleblowers that exposed bad people. That's why the guy's locked under prison in the UK, because he exposed bad people. And when the governments and your governments start to figure out that they jail people that are whistleblowers or journalists that blow the whistle on bad people, you are fucked as a society. This is true. They're my first F word of the day, by the way, and maybe the last one for the end of the year. That could be my last F word for the 2021. Anyway, George Orwell, very intelligent man when it talked about this stuff. During times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. What I'm doing right now, what you're doing by listening, this is a revolutionary act, folks. They don't want this to happen. They want to control the narrative. And if they control the narrative, screw the facts. I mean, this, again, funny memes, but it's true. If they control the narrative, screw the facts. And let's move through my memes of the year. The party told you to reject all evidence of your eyes and ears. Again, we're into George Orwell pretty heavy today, folks. But hey, listen, even if he was 30 years too early, he still got it right. It was their final and most essential command, which means that the lies, you only got a shut down for 2 weeks. Then it was 3 months. And then it was if you did this, if you became a pincushion, you would never get it again. Then you got to become a pincushion a second time and a third time. So, and then they want you to reject all that and pretend that they never said it. There's a lot of things like that, folks, that you see. It's not just that. It's your money. It's your economy. They're so concerned about the working people. They're so concerned about retirees and the working people. Yet they're fucking the U.S. dollar by overspending money they don't have. Second one of the day. Sorry about that. Maybe I'm not sorry. Well, not sorry. Pee Wee Herman. To reject all evidence of your eyes and ears was the final, most essential command. And let's here's kind of what we got going on in our world governments right now. This is the truth. I love this little meme here, or this little quote, ineptocracy. I think ineptocracy. Crossy. Oh, crassy. All right, I screwed up the pronunciation. A system of government where the least capable to lead are elected by the least capable of producing. Sound familiar? And where the members of society least likely to sustain themselves or succeed are rewarded with goods and services paid by the confiscated wealth of a diminishing number of producers. This is powerful, folks, really. If you in fact, what I want you to do, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee, pause the screen, read this a couple times. It explains exactly what we've got going on in governments across the world, not just the United States, even more so in governments across the world. Oh, a cup of coffee sip, sorry about that. Coffee tastes so much better when you have a day off. Of course, another meme that I always I liked, and any of you have ever seen this movie, what a movie this was, right? Dad, why does government ruin everything it touches? Well, Russ, and people can't seem to figure out that government is a monopoly that has no incentive to be efficient, effective, accountable, or to improve because it's funded by taxes we pay involuntarily, and if we don't, well, they put us in prison. There's one thing that government does better than anyone. It's coercion and violence. They have a legal license. I mean, the governments all over the world, even our government, United States, as good as it is, we give them the license to use violence and coercion. We give them a license to work, and they're allowed to do it. They're allowed to put us in prison. They're allowed to torture us. Apparently, they're allowed to put us to death as well. We gave them this permission. This is why they need to be restrained and kept as small as possible, because we gave them some of the most dangerous responsibilities that you could give any entity. We gave them the power to kill people and the power to coerce, the power to imprison people. This is why this part of the centralized government has to be kept extremely small. This is why states' rights and less centrality in government is so important, folks. Because they don't care. They just don't care, and it's absolutely true. A monopoly has no incentive to be efficient. Even a business monopoly, they have no incentive to be efficient, effective, or accountable, and that's the problem we got with our governments worldwide, folks. As far as parties go, you know my position on parties. I'm not, I don't think either one of them are worth a damn personally, and I got to tell you though, just because I have such a disdain, a dislike for socialists, progressives, and not so much progressives and socialists, because most of them are well-intended people. They're just, when it comes to politics and economics, they're not very bright. They just feel like they're doing the right thing for others. But there is a certain segment of them that are manipulative, socialists and progressives, and there's a certain segment that are just plain frickin' Marxists and communists. Those are the people that I can't stand and that we need to put down. When I say put down, we need to put them in their place, let them know that they're morons when it comes to the reality of the situations. And this party over here is the one that kind of supports those socialists, progressives, Marxists, and communists more than this party. It's the only reason that I'd be more supportive and less more forgiving of this party is because this party has just opened their doors to some very, very dangerous people and very dangerous ideas. Again, not that this party's any better, but no less. I hate to use the word lesser evil, kind of the lesser evil over here. No less. I am not a fan of voting the lesser evils. I've never done it, and I don't think I will do it here in the future. I want to pick people that I think are solid. So, if we lie to the government, it's a felony, but if they lie to us, it's called politics, folks. That's what I was talking about here, these people right here. It's politics if they lie to us, and they do it all the time. You know it as well as I do. And why do they lie? Because they're a monopoly. They have no incentive to be efficient, effective, or accountable, more or less. So, and also, we given them the greatest power of all, the power to imprison us, the power to coercion, the power of death even. We give them the power to put us to death. So now, with that much power, they're drunk on power. This centralized government, the U.S. government has become our federal government. Again, I'm all for republic and states' rights, but when it comes to centralized power, frickin' dangerous, man. We're in a dangerous territory right now. The federal government is way too big and way too powerful. And at some point, if you speak against them, they're going to use that power of death and imprisonment against us, all right? But it's okay for them to do it. It's okay for them to do it. I'm just pointing out some dangerous things that we got here. And actually, this is, I think, what is happening across the country is, look, there goes another bunch of voters leaving to register as independent, like myself. I'm more independent. I'm libertarian-minded, but independent. And most folks that say, oh, libertarian, have no clue what libertarians are. Anybody that disses a libertarian has no clue what they're talking about. Libertarians are fiscally conservative, socially liberal, okay? Which means that we don't care what you do with your personal lives. We don't care how you spend your money, who you have sex with, who you enjoy being with, whatever hobbies you like to do, providing you harm no others and expect nobody to pay for your stuff, all right? That's what libertarians are. Some people confuse us with liberals, some confuse us with really extreme right. It's usually either a person in the Democrat or Republican Party that usually makes those kind of comments because they are truly and not willfully sometimes, but ignorant when it comes to libertarians. Most everybody I know in life is a libertarian. They really are. They're fiscally conservative. They run their lives like that themselves. Not everyone. And they're socially liberal, which means that, hey, listen, I don't care what my neighbor does as long as he doesn't hurt anybody. That's libertarian, folks. But no less, these two parties are going to drive people right out. And the problem right now is we got a duopoly going on out there. A terrible, terrible duopoly. And that's power sharing by these two, the donkey and the elephant. Power sharing. That's your turn. Hey, listen, you fought hard for it, but it's your turn this year. We'll get it back next year. It's really one party, though, if you think about it. And that's the issue that got out there. And they don't fear us anymore. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. And that's the problem we got right now. It's become so centralized that we're becoming fearful of them. We're fearful that they'll sick an agency on us, put us in jail, imprison us, turn us off, turn off our money, whatever. The truth of the matter is there's only freedom when the government fears the people. And this is not happening, folks. It did happen a little bit last year, and this year I think there was some reason for government officials to say, listen, we're pushing these people a bit too hard. I even think this administration is kind of get it. That's why they're kind of backed off a little bit. They realized that, that we're not fearing them anymore. In fact, they're becoming a little fearful of us. And you know what, folks? That's a good thing. So, for those of you that hung on long enough with me, here's another good political meme I posted last year. Oh, my political posts are annoying you? Sorry, I assume the future of humanity is worth discussing. And by all means, post another picture of your meal or your doggy or kitty. And as I said, it really does tie into gold and silver, folks. You got to be cognizant of this stuff. If the world is falling apart economically and socially all around you, this is good for gold and silver prices. Historically, always has been. So we're not talking about anything that's really off topic per se. Opinionated, yes. And speaking of the two-party, I love this meme. Watching people cling to the two-party system is like witnessing the victim of a toxic relationship, afraid to leave because they've been conditioned to believe they can't do better. Folks, you need to lead those two parties. You need to, especially the blue party right now. Even my friends out there that are liberal like myself, I'm socially liberal. I really am. I don't care what you do in your life. I'm happy with that. If you want to, whatever you want to do, all right? As long as it harms no other and you don't want other people to pay for it, I'm cool with it, all right? Even my blue peeps out there, You need to leave that party, man. And same thing with my red peeps out there. You got to leave the party at some point. You know what I mean? I know you're the lesser evil things coming up here, and it's hard not to. The problem is that the blue party just got in bed with the wrong people as well. That's going to kill them. It's going to kill that party. Socialists. They've been there, but anyways, I digress. I like that meme as well. And as far as our PC world we've been going through here, with social media and everything shutting down people for not liking what they say, I like this meme. What does PC mean, Pop? Well, son, it means giving up your own opinions and beliefs in order to please some whiny little crybabies. And gosh, we've seen so much of that. I've seen it. I had my Facebook account of 12 years closed down. They accused me of hateful and violent behaviors. And folks, you know me, I'm anything but hateful and violent. I don't believe in hate. I don't believe in violence. I believe in, we can agree to disagree. That's the way it's been when I grew up and everything. If there's any hateful violence, it's the Facebook censors that cut me off. They were the ones that promoted hate and violence for the last couple years, burning down cities, trying to burn down the Constitution. So I'm the hateful and violent one. I've never even come close to promoting hate or violence. Anyway, and it's because, basically, the whole, Silicon Valley and all these big media, social medias are run by socialist, Marxist, and not run by, but they're staffed by socialists and Marxists and some very dangerous people, in my opinion, as far as it comes to free speech, which is really bad. Democracies, I'm a big thing for democracies, but Republican democracies. Once we get into a true democracy, a true democracy is nothing more than mob rule where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49%. Thomas Jefferson said that, and that's the truth. That's a true democracy. That's what these young folks are pushing for, and they don't know how dangerous that is when the tide turns or when a bad person really gets in there. Their rights go to shit. We're seeing that right now on the social media level where free speech has no, Well, anyways, who doesn't love Clint Eastwood? Sometimes you look at people and wonder, how do you fit all that stupid in one head? Man, I can't help but when I look at Washington, D.C., and our political system and the people that are actually running the system, officials and politicians, worldwide as well. It's just as bad in UK. It's just as bad in Europe. The EU, my gosh, the EU, poor people over there. Speaking of centralized governments and evil people, there you go, the EU. How do they fit all that stupid in one head? That's just, you know what it is? It's not stupid, it's ignorance, folks. It's ignorance and extreme bias. I think this world should be run my way. This is the way I think, and anyone disagrees with me should be censored, cut off, or something. That's what's really happening out there, and those are evil people, man. And who are they? Well, again, I'm sorry to say it, but it's the socialist, it's the primarily the Marxist. I find most people that call themselves progressive or socialist really are clueless when it comes to economics and politics. They assign socialist with doing good things for other people, which, to some degree that could be true, but it's no longer the definition anymore. As far as that socialism goes, everyone else who tried this has gotten hurt, but everyone else did it the wrong way. Of course they did. And there you go. That's a beautiful meme right there as well. We're almost through my memes, folks. God, what a long video today. I hope you're cool with this. This one doesn't need any more explaining right here, so I'm going to just pass by this. If you like it that much, you can pause. And truth is, in theory, communism does work in theory. This was always funny to me, Homer Simpson, because communism does not take into account the human spirit. The humans want desires. It doesn't take in the human desires. That's natural. Communism basically is just like pure perfection. Like if you had a bunch of robots and they all thought the same and they all didn't have any desire and they all didn't have any desire to do better, desire to excel, if people were just robots with no desire, and that's, I think, what they're trying to turn people into, then communism might work. But the fact is, people desire things. People want to improve. People like to be competitive. Communism takes that completely out of the picture. And in that case, again, in a theoretical, pure form, disregarding all human emotions and human desires, yeah, communism does work. But we're not fucking robots, and they don't get that. As far as Marxist, social, and progressives, again, these are all memes I've shared over the years, but it ties into gold and silver. This is sharing, this is theft. Don't be confused. government stealing money from you and giving it to someone else is not sharing. That's not socialism. That's theft, folks, okay? Again, if you have to read this a few times to get it, to do a stop and pause, but I think most all of you that watch my videos are completely on board with this and don't need to. And this is pretty self-explanatory as well. I'm being a little hard on socialists. Of course I am, and progressives. And the reason I'm being hard on them because the economic picture doesn't work, man. You socialists and progressives out there, and especially you Marxists, well, I hope no Marxists are listening to me, but you socialists and progressives out there, as well-intentioned as you are, capitalism, and what you're confusing is that capitalism is free market capitalism. What we have going on today all over the world, including the United States, is no longer free market capitalism. It's crony capitalism, which means that if you're in bed with the government and they like you and you provide the proper services and do everything they want, or for example, insurance companies forcing everyone to get insurance, that's crony capitalism, all right? You just made the insurance companies rich through government, all right? That's when you force people to make their choices, financial choices, economic choices, just choices just to buy items. That's not capitalism. That's crony capitalism. Okay, and unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that. And a lot of people that don't understand capitalism confuse crony capitalism and free market capitalism. For you socialists and progressives out there that have confused the two, you really need to read up on it. Again, I believe most people that call themselves socialists and progressives have good hearts. They just economically they're clueless. And no matter how bad things are, you can always make things worse. This is absolutely true. All you got to do is look at what they did with Critter 19 when it started. They just made it worse, and they continue to do so. So through closures, through all this other stuff. Truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like to be challenged. This is why I got thrown off Facebook. This is why thousands and tens of hundreds, millions of people have been thrown off social media, because truth does not like to be questioned. A lie does not like to be challenged. And one thing that politicians and officials did not like out there is that folks like me, folks like you, whoever's been thrown off, again, as long as you weren't an idiot and being nasty to people, which I've never been, I've always been civil, I've always been polite in my conversations, I just disagreed with the narrative that the government spends, officials spends. And my disagreements are not just, conspiratorial, some asshole in a garage making shit up, I shouldn't say that because, but anyways, I think through things. I'm a reader. I like evidence, just like I said with the Isaac Asimov thing at the beginning like this. And I disagreed with a lot of stuff. This is why they threw me off Facebook, because I disagreed with them. And a lie doesn't like to be challenged. They just throw you right off. All right, so that's a great meme right there. There's my opinion of Facebook fact checkers, and also the fact checkers of all the others, Twitters, and you name it. Hard at work, a bunch of clowns. And I got to tell you, that being the case, Lenin said it perfectly. If Lenin only had the help of big tech in Silicon Valley back when he was ready to take over the world, we'd all be communists right now, and that's a fact. But good thing he didn't. And truth is, folks, they got their foot in the door with it. Another little jab, social media fact checks, if they existed back in the day, they took down my Earth is round post, Galileo. Or who was that? Was that Galileo? I probably got the wrong. Columbus. All right, that's supposed to be Columbus right there. They took down my Earth is round post. That's funny as shit. There's Galileo. They blocked my Earth revolves around the sun post. And they would have, folks. They would have. In fact, I think Galileo was jailed for saying that the Earth revolves around the sun. And I think Columbus was kind of made fun of for saying the Earth is round. Who by? Governments and officials, all right? So with the help of social media fact checkers, exactly back then. So cute but true. My opinion, as far as that company goes, they can go screw themselves. They can take their metaverse and stick it where the sun doesn't shine. As far as the year goes, last 2020, 2021, regardless of who you think should win or who deserved it or whatever it may be, we had a big issue. We really did have a big issue. And again, whether true or not, that's opinionated. Although, in my opinion, there was issues, okay? We've got big issue, folks. Nobody's talking about this 800-pound gorilla in the room, or the elephant in the room, I should say. No one's talking about the elephant in the room. This is the elephant in the room for 2022 and 2024. Don't think anybody's realizing. Nobody really wants to talk about it or touch it, but it's true. Here's another subject that nobody wants to talk or touch about too. And again, I'm going through the year-end wrap-up here. What does this stuff have to do with price of gold and silver? The lies, the lies, the lies. The more they have to lie, the more society creeps down into a really low hole. You know what I'm saying? Which is good for the price of gold and silver. I know I say that too much, but it's true. So, this is something else. Again, credibility. It's really got credibility. It's not just this credibility, but it's credibility of officials. It's the credibility of our governments, the credibility of our media. It's just zero, folks. That meter is pointing at zero, and it's probably about right. So this just ties right into that, the credibility of our officials. Think about that. I mean, I just read that the 2 guards that fell asleep during this thing, they fell asleep, right? And the videotape disappears, right? And they fell asleep, the videotape disappears, and they were both found that they were shopping for new motorcycles and furniture. Were they expecting some extra income? And they were just released. All charges against those 2 guards were dropped. Nobody talks about this stuff, folks. Again, credibility of the media, pretty much zero. This is why, stuff like this. We know something happened. We know something happened, folks. I mean, even the folks that, whether you're blue or left, even my, people that disagree vehemently politically, the blue and the left and the right, all agree. Most of them agree. There's something sucks here, all right? So all of Americans, both sides are wondering here. Dr. Bernanke, now this is the helicopter money. If we feed the banks enough dollars, something good is bound to come out of the other end eventually. There you go. Something's going to come out, and then we're going to be covered in shit. This is Bernanke and the 1% and the people out there, the elite that control the economies, the central banks, and the governments. This is them, and their idea is they know exactly they're feeding a pig at a trough that has constipation problems, and it's going to blow shit all over America and the world at some point. Anyway, I like that meme too. There's my explanation of it. And Ludwig von Mises, a quote here, "There is no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about by a credit expansion. The alternative is only whether the crisis should come sooner as a result of voluntary abandonment of further credit expansion." Let me kind of put my little point in there, which I think that I saw with Ron Paul in 2008. He was the only one saying, hey, listen, we better abandon this before it gets bigger. Look what happened. Or later, as a final and total catastrophe of the currency system is involved. Well, we had 2 ways to fix this thing, folks. As I said, since day one, they've never fixed anything since 2008. They've just bandaged up the wound, who is consistently bleeding. They keep pumping plasma into the system, and again, they've never fixed it. The patient's going to die. We know it. It's the Titanic. The ship's going down, and we all know it. They lie to us. The ship's going down. That's the U.S. dollar is going down, and each Federal Reserve chairman is only there to jawbone you like a good captain should, and tell you that everything's okay, but you're going to drown. We're drowning. And anyways, don't steal. The government hates competition, and so does central bankers who really control the government. I like this. That's Ron Paul in the background. He used to keep that on his desk. I thought that was pretty cool. But that's what I have been saying about cryptos for the last couple years now. Fact is, it's not going to be money, folks. It's just not going to be money. It'll never be money. When it comes to the point it was going to compete against the dollar, you better believe that one thing was going to happen to the other. It was going to either be made illegal like they did in China and Russia, or trying to, or it would be relegated to lots of regulations, Wall Streeted, COMEXed, crooked COMEXed, to a point where it was just a glorified money market. That's probably where you're going to see it end up as. And why? Because governments and banks hate competition. Don't think for yourself. Trust the TV news. Of course, that's what got us in all of this little trouble. So my suggestion, what I did since 2008, just like little Susie did, I cured the worst disease of all right there, just by getting rid of corporate news. So the best thing you can do next year is don't watch corporate TV anymore. Turn off the CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all those channels. Read some stuff online, but read some alternative stuff too. Make your own opinions. Don't let the talking corporate heads who are paid to tell you what you should think, and they're often wrong, rule your lives like they have, folks, man. You want to cure the worst disease of all, turn that fucking television off. And and it could be the internet as well. And once you awaken, it's hard to go back being asleep. I'm going to say asleep here because, once you've seen something horrific, it's hard to close your eyes. And we have the moral responsibility, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, to disobey unjust laws, folks. So don't be afraid of the government. When you're afraid of the government, freedom is gone. When they're afraid of you, it's a whole different, freedom abounds, and that's the truth, man. Well, we're getting close to my memes here, and one of my favorite memes of the year, and every one of you that follow my videos have heard me say this over and over, certainly the game is rigged. Don't let that stop you. If you don't bet, you can't win. And that applies to the precious metal markets, the crooked COMEX, the crooked London markets that we've talked about over the years. A lot of people would be fearful to get into those markets. Oh, it's rigged. But folks, everything is rigged in your life. It's from day one, it's rigged. You were told there was a Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, or whatever it may be, and you were lied to. That was rigged. Why? Because they wanted to keep you obedient. They wanted to make sure, whatever it was. Everything from that to the news that you've been watching your whole life, to politics, to elections. It's all rigged, folks. Come on, man. But don't let that stop you. If you don't play, you can't win. You got to live, man. But if you know how the game is rigged, you can beat them. And that's what we're here to show you with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals and myself, to show you how the game is rigged in silver and gold markets. That's what Ted Butler does. That's what GATA.org does. We're here to show you how it's rigged so you can beat them at their own fucking game. Fourth F word, and maybe the last for the year. The other thing I can recommend is exit your echo chamber to make a difference, which means on your social media sites and stuff like that, invite people. Invite yourself into conversations where you're going to be talking to people that disagree with you, because you know what? I've never learned, and this is a saying that someone else said, but you'll never learn from a person that you agree with. You learn from people you disagree with. Two ways. First off, you learn that you may be wrong, and if you don't learn that, you may, and if that's not the case, you also may learn more information that strengthens your position. So exit your echo chambers and make sure that you friend people that you disagree with. Keep it civil, keep it polite, and always remember to agree to disagree. Here's one thing that I found in my life that I think a lot of you will find. Good judgment comes from experience, and experience, well, that comes from poor judgments. And again, we all live that. We all live that. Our experience comes from, our judgment comes from our experience, and our experiences often comes from poor judgment or good judgment, all right? That could go the other way as well. Unfortunately, again, when it comes to governments, there's no such thing as experience. It's just poor judgment consistently. Well, wow, courage is the resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Folks, don't be afraid of these bullies. Don't be afraid of these bullies in D.C., these bullies on Wall Street, these bully elite, the bully central bankers, the bully crooked COMEX. Don't be afraid of them. Learn to master that fear. Don't be afraid. And in fact, turn it into something different. So I like that saying as well. And we are getting close to the end here. I'd like to say that this holiday and all holidays were made possible by citizens with guns. That says Happy Independence Day. But I think you could add, again, that one of my memes here. As you know, I am a Second Amendment supporter. So through all this, most of you know me for some time. You must think like, wow, Brian can really be a little serious sometimes, and it may seem true, and some of you are probably really thankful that, taking a moment to be thankful that I don't own a tank. So, and I probably could feel the same way about some of my viewers the listeners out there too. Maybe we're all thankful that we don't own tanks. As far as the Second Amendment goes, I'm good with all that, but maybe tanks shouldn't be owned by us, because there are some days that myself and a few of you out there, I'm sure as well, are passionate enough that we might have taken a stroll in our tank, But no less, I thought that was a funny meme last year, and hey, this is not a funny meme. I'd like to say thank you to all my peoples out there, all the viewers, all my fellow citizens across the globe. We're all in this boat together, folks. The real enemy and the real issues that we have is not with each other. We can agree to disagree. The real issues that we have out there are with the people that try to turn us against each other, who profit from that. And who is that? That's governments, that's officials for governments, that's corporate media. They're trying to turn us all against each other, folks. And that's just not American. Not the America I grew up in. The America I grew up in is that we can agree to disagree, and that we can all work together, and that we do. to make our lives better and the lives of the people around us better. This has got to end some point. Well, anyways, I want to wish everyone a happy New Year. I think I pretty much gone through all my, yeah, I did. Pretty much gone through all my memes for the year, and I'd like to end it with just the American flag there and a beautiful sea as a background. It's one big, large planet. We all need to take care of each other. Well, again, Happy New Year's. Thanks for watching. This is Brian Kuzmeyer with Commercial Ware Coins and Precious Metals. I go through the whole spiel, how I'm only a local dealer, and go deal with your local dealers. But gosh, if you watch enough of my videos, you can repeat what I say myself. Hey, thanks for watching. The best to all of you, all your families, and all your friends. And let's live in a peaceful, beautiful world. Bye now.